Welcome to our video. It is the end of May. We're almost halfway through the year. That's insane. I think May was my lightest reading month so far this year. I'm pretty sure because I only read 7 books in May and I typically read 8 or more. So May was tied with March for my shortest reading month so far this year. I read 7 books, or I guess I should say I finished 7 books because of course there's books that I read part of that I didn't finish, as there is every month. I read 3 physical books, 3 audiobooks, and 2 ebooks. 2 of that 7 were novellas, but we're counting them. So let's get started. The first book I finished in May was a novella, and it was Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is the book that comes after Powerless by Lauren Roberts, which I have somewhere, but anyway. So this is like 1.5, Powerless is 1. And so basically Powerless has been compared to like the Hunger Games, but it's a fantasy where in this world there was like an illness and afterwards everyone has like abilities, like walking through walls or like super speed, like, you know, abilities. And so the main character of Powerless, her name is Peyton, and she doesn't have a power, but she pretends to, and she gets sucked into their version of game, like the Hunger Games kind of thing, where teenagers with abilities compete to see who wins, and it's like an honor thing. Well, she has a best friend named Adina who knows her secret that she doesn't have an ability and lives with her like on the streets because they're both homeless. So the novella is about Adina, and Adina does have ability. She can, I forgot what they call it, but like she can like walk through walls basically. And so this novella follows Adina during the events of Powerless and what Adina is up to. And if you know how Powerless ends, you know why this book was sad. I like this book, but I feel like it would have been better if it was a full-length novel. I feel like, especially like Adina, because there's a love story in this, she meets someone named Mac and they're like working together to do something. And I feel like their story would have been better as a slow burn. And I feel like it was too like sped up in this novella for like how they felt about each other. I also feel like the ending would have had a bigger impact if they had had more time together and this book had been longer. And I feel like Mac is going to be a significant character in the series. And so I don't know, I just wish this book was a bit longer. I think it would have been better. I still enjoyed it. I think I settled on 4 stars for this one because I love this world that she has created and I love these characters. And Adina is so special and sweet. But I just feel like it would have been better as a longer book because this is really short. It is short, but it's also short. And like there's barely any words on the page. So yeah, 4 stars. I liked it. It made me more excited for Reckless. The sequel to Powerless comes out in July, which is literally like a month away, which I can't believe that we're almost to a book because I read Powerless in December and I've been like waiting for the sequel and it's like almost here, which is insane. But yeah, that was the first book I finished in May. And then I started a reading vlog, which I'm still working on. I'm halfway through the 3rd book for that reading vlog, so hopefully that'll be out soon. But the first book I read in that was China Rich Girlfriend, which is a sequel to Crazy Rich Asians. I read part of this as a physical book and part of it on my Kindle. Basically, Crazy Rich Asians is about this girl named Rachel who lives in New York City with her boyfriend, Nick, and they're both professors at a university. And he takes her home to his country for the summer to go to his best friend's wedding. She finds out that his family is really rich. And it's just like a lot of drama about the family because it changes points of view and stuff. So you get her point of view, you get like Nick's cousin Ashton's point of view, love her, and just different people in the family and the drama of like having that kind of money, but also like Chinese culture and like how you have to marry and like family ties, and it's really interesting. So this is the sequel, so pretty much just picks up, well, there's a time jump of 2 years between the books, but it still kind of picks up where the other book left off with the same characters, but there's also a lot of new characters introduced in this one, and I feel like it was too many. And this book is one of those books where it switches points of view a lot, like in the middle of a chapter. And so this chapter will start and it's someone you don't know and you're like, okay, who is this person? Why am I learning about them? And then after like 2 or 3 pages, they're in a conversation with someone you do know and you're like, oh, that's why I just read about this person's life story to get to this conversation. Like it just, and it's a little bit of that is like fine, but I felt like there was like a lot of that in this book and it kind of made it like a little confusing because there's just so many moving parts. You definitely have to adjust to the writing in this series. So yeah, I think I like this one less than the first one, but I did still really enjoy this one. I will be continuing the series. There's one more book in the series. Hopefully we'll get to that soon, hopefully over the summer, because I really do like Rachel and Nick together. They're really cute. And I love learning more about Chinese culture because I just don't know anything about it really. And yeah, 4 stars. If you can see the scratch on my hand, that was Cooper, because he still doesn't like belly rubs, in case you were wondering. The next physical book I read was An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. This is the 3rd book in the Bridgerton series. I started reading the series in 2022, I think, is when I watched the show for the first time. And now with the 3rd season coming out, I was inspired to go back to the series. But the 3rd season of the show follows the 4th book. So I'm reading the 3rd book and then I have to read the 4th book until I can get back to the show. But if you don't know what Bridgerton is about, somehow, it's basically a romance book set in the Regency era. So think like Pride and Prejudice, like big dresses, they go to balls, their women are like married off to a man, otherwise you're wordless kind of thing. So the Bridgerton family is this rich family that has 8 kids. And so each book is a kid marrying off. And they have to like go out into society and court people and whatever, and it's like really, really drama filled, and that's why it's such a good TV show. The 3rd book follows Benedict, which is the 2nd child, and I was really excited for his book because from watching the show, Benedict was like one of my favorite Bridgertons. I just really liked him for some reason, and so I really enjoyed his book. It is a Cinderella retelling, which I felt very refreshing because the first 2 books had very similar tropes, so this one was pretty different from that. So I really enjoyed that. And I liked his love interest too. I really liked her background and she felt really different from the other characters that I've read in Bridgerton. So this was really refreshing to be so different. And I still really love Benedict. I really love their mother, Violet. She raised all those kids so well and she's an incredible woman. And she has like a pretty big role in this one too, so I really liked that. And I mean, there's some things I didn't like about the books. So it's only a 4 stars, even though I think it's my favorite of the 3 Bridgerton books I've read so far. I just don't think I can give it higher than that, even though I really enjoyed it. And I'm excited to get to the 4th book so that I can get to the 3rd season, which is Colin's story. So those are all the physical books I read. Like I said, these 2 I read in a reading vlog, which is continuing series I'm in the middle of. I think I'll go into the ebooks I read. One of them I think I started in April. I really don't remember when I read it. Most of the ebooks I read are like on my phone from the library using Libby, and so sometimes I lose it and then I have to wait for it to come back, or I get a hold in for another book and I read that one because I'm excited and then I have to go back to the other one. So I don't remember when I started this book, but I finished it in May and it's called Loud, Awake, and Lost. And this is a book I've had on my shelf since I was a teenager, and it's like I'm interested enough to keep it but not interested enough to pick it up, so I decided to read it as an ebook. And I'm glad I did because I think I would have been really mad if I wasted like my time reading it as a physical book because I really didn't like this book. The main character's name is Ember, I think, which is the name of my bearded dragon. Basically, she is in a car accident and it's like really bad. Like she almost dies. She has to like be in a hospital and be in rehab for like 8 months. She has to like relearn how to walk. And she has no memory of the like 2 months leading up to the car accident. And she like did a lot of stuff that wasn't like her. Like she broke up with her boyfriend. She kind of stopped talking to her best friend. She was hanging out with a different group of people. And then she was in this car accident. And there was a guy in the car accident with her who died. And she doesn't even know who he is. And so the book is like advertised as like a mystery. Like I thought it was gonna be like her piecing together her life before the accident and like something suspicious happened with the accident. Like I thought it was gonna be like that, like an eerie mystery type thing. It wasn't. Not at all. It was so boring. This book was so boring. Nothing happened. And I know it's like a YA book, and so possibly I would have found it more interesting if I read it when I was like 14, but like I don't think so. Like I think I would have been just as bored then because nothing happened. And I like sort of guessed the reveal, and by the time I got to the reveal, I didn't even care. It was so boring. And yeah, I really wanted to DNF this book, and I don't really DNF books. The closest I come to ever DNFing books is if I read the first like I read a first chapter of a book and I'm like, I don't feel like reading it. That's like, I do that kind of often, especially with like Libby, but like to read halfway, 70%, whatever, through this book, and I was like, I don't want to finish it, but I was like, I'm so close to the end, like I might as well, so I did, and it was just such a waste of time. And I will definitely be getting rid of that book off of my shelves because I don't need it, because I did not like it. I think, to be generous, I gave it 2.5 and not 2 because I don't know. Honestly, I might give it 2. I did not like this book. So the next ebook I read was a novella, and it was 4.5 in the Shatter Me series, I think. And this series is mid for me. This series is 3 stars, 3.5. Like, I don't foresee it ever going higher than that. Could go lower, but I just don't really like this series, but I'm like hooked on it and I like need to know what happens, so I keep reading it. And I think this was the shortest novella of all of them. This is the third novella. It was like 100 ebook pages. And I think I would have liked it more if it was longer, actually. I feel like it was rushed and it was really choppy the way all the scenes were put together. Because if you don't know, Shatter Me is a dystopian like YA book. It follows this character named Juliet who has this ability where if she touches you, you die. And there's like a rebellion and all this stuff, okay? This is 4.5 is the book we're on now. I can't tell you what it's about because spoilers, but this novella followed a character named Kenji. It was from his point of view. All the books are from Juliet's point of view. All the novellas are from someone else's point of view. So it followed Kenji near the end of the 4th book, what he was doing, like from his point of view. And I found that really interesting because I do really like Kenji as a character. And it's always interesting to see what's happening from someone else's point of view, especially like book 4 and the like direction like Juliet's mind goes and like the ending of book 4. But I just feel like it was kind of, like I said, it was like rushed and choppy, and it just was like scene, end. Was nothing to it. Like, it was so short that like I just didn't really like the way it was put together. But the ending of this novella was like a different point of view of the ending from the 4th book, and it changes what you think about it. And so now I'm like, what actually happened at the end of the 4th book and what's gonna happen next? Like, I literally finished it. Okay, I was also reading it at like 1 a.m. So I don't know where my mind was, but I finished it and I was like, what just happened? And I went back and had to read a few pages again, maybe even 3 times. I was tired, but I was also like, what? I'm pretty sure I read it 3 times. But anyway, the ending just made me rethink the ending of the 4th book, so I'm even more excited for the 5th book. I still think the novella is only like 3 stars, maybe 3.5. Like, it's not a good... I don't really like this series, but I'm obsessed with it. And you would think that since I'm so obsessed with it, I would like it more. But the writing is just mid. Like, I don't think it's that good. It really is a like YA series from like 2010. Like, that's exactly what it feels like. So I'm like interested, but I'm like, it's not good, you know? Does that make sense? Anyway, so now I'll go into the audiobooks I listened to, which this year has been really weird for audiobooks for me. And I feel like I've been saying that every month, but like work has just been really weird. And that's pretty much the only place I listen to audiobook. Audiobooks have just been really weird. And I've listened to a lot less this year than I have in the past. I don't even remember which audiobooks I listened to in May. I remember now. Okay, so I continued with some rereads for my audiobooks. I have been rereading the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. That is the prequel series in the Shadowhunters world. Shadowhunters is like one of my favorite series, and I think I have finally figured out what my thing with this trilogy is. There's 5 series currently in this whole series, and there's like some standalone short story collections, and she's still writing books. So this is the prequel series. This one is about Tessa, Jim, and Will, if you've heard those names. This is the book that has them in it. And basically, Tessa travels from the US to the UK, and she finds out she's part of the Shadow World. And she didn't know she was part of it before, but she's like kidnapped by these people, and then Will and Jim rescue her, and then she goes to the Institute, and she learns about the Shadowhunters and like all of that, and how she fits into it. And so this is the 3rd book. So a lot is happening in this book with the plot. This book always like gets me, like the ending, like the end and then the epilogue of this book always has me in tears. I was crying at work. I was sitting there typing with just tears, okay? Because this ending and these characters. Anyway, so my revelation while during this reread is that I really like this trilogy for the characters. And I'm not saying the plot is bad. Like, I think the plot is fine. At this point, I've read this series 4 times maybe, and at this point I'm like kind of over the plot, but I just keep reading it because I love the characters so much. Tessa, Will, and Jim. There's nothing like them, especially Jim. Jim Carstairs has my heart. I love that man. He is like so special and he deserves the world. He is the sweetest man, and I love every second of every book that Jim is in. I love him. So that's what I figured out. It's like I'm in this trilogy for these characters. And not even just the three of them. Like even like the side characters, like I love them too. Like Charlotte and Henry, they run the Institute. I also really love them. I love every scene with them. And some of the other side characters, and of course Magnus Bane, when he appears, I love Magnus. He's one of my favorite characters too. It's like fine. Like it's a really good book. Like the trilogy as a whole, like characters and plot and the way it all fits together, it is really good. But I've decided that it is one of my, I really have a hard time ranking the series, but this one is high up because of these characters. That's where we're at with that book. Did I say the name of the book? The name of this book was Clockwork Princess. I don't even think I ever said that. But we're gonna move on to the next book I read now. So the next book I read was another reread from Cassandra Clare. It is the second book in the Eldest Curses, I think is the name of this trilogy. This is gonna sound bad following up the one I just talked about, but this is another one where I don't really like the plot. The other one, like comparing the plots, the Infernal Devices is like really, really, really good. I do like the plot. This one, the plot's fine, but like, okay, some of the plots of these books are so good and interesting that I don't mind rereading them, and other ones I think are really good, but I just don't want to reread the plots. I think that's what it is. I don't think the plot is bad. It's just not rereadable in my opinion. So the Eldest Curses, it's going to be a trilogy. She hasn't come out with the third one yet. There's only two. It follows Magnus, one of my favorite characters, and his love interest, which I won't name names right now because I feel like that's a spoiler for another series. And it's like the first one takes place right after the Mortal Instruments ends, and then this one's a couple years later, but it's before the next trilogy starts. Basically, it's just following Magnus and kind of situations he's gotten himself into because he's a warlock and he's been around for so many years, and like who his demon father is, and like that's what this series is about. Like I said, I feel like the plot's not bad. Like I think the plot's good. It's not rereadable in my opinion. Even reading it the first time, this was definitely my least favorite trilogy of all the series in this series because I don't know. There's just something about it. I'm just not a huge fan of this plot. Now, Magnus, I love Magnus. He even from when I was a kid, because I started reading these books when I was like 12, Magnus was always my favorite character. My appreciation for Jim, I have acquired as I've been older, because I think, I don't know, just being older makes me appreciate who he is as a person more than when I was like in middle school. So this follows Magnus, and I love him, and I love his story with his love interest, and I love all of the other characters. So like this one I enjoy because I love the characters, but it's still my least favorite of all of them. It's still a very good book because I love Cassandra Clare's writing, but it's just not my favorite series. In fact, it's my least favorite in the Shadow World. Okay, one more audiobook to talk about. Wait, no, this is the last book in general to talk about. So like I said, I just haven't really been feeling audiobooks lately. And so near the end of the month, nothing sounded good. I typically listen to like YA books as audiobooks, particularly like romance and coming of age books, because they're like pretty easy to follow. If I read other genres, it's usually because I'm rereading. And I just feel like after listening to all of the fantasies I've been listening to, because I have been rereading a lot of Cassandra Clare books this year, and they are kind of long, and even though I like them and it's a reread, it is just like a lot to follow, and I just felt kind of tired of listening to books after that. But there was just no YA romances that seemed interesting to me. And then I saw Princess Diaries, and I was like, you know what, a simple little middle grade book, that's what I need. So that's what I read. I obviously, like we all did, I grew up watching Princess Diaries because Anne Hathaway is iconic, okay? So I love those movies growing up, and I found the first two books at like a used bookstore in like 2019. And so I read the first one, I think in 2020, and they're very cute. Wait, if you don't know what Princess Diaries is about, it's about this girl named Mia who like grew up in like New York City with her single mom who's like an artist, and then she finds out that she's a princess to a small European country, and then she has to learn how to be a princess because one day she has to rule that country. Okay, so I read the first book. I thought it was really cute, but I was in my 20s and I was like, this is not for me. Like, it was cute, but I just didn't want to continue the series. Maybe if I was like 9 or 10, I would have. So I like unhauled those books, whatever. But I'm sitting there looking through my phone and I come across Princess Diaries and I'm like, they're only like 5 hours. That seems like a really easy book. I'm gonna just listen to that while I look for something else. I actually liked it better as an audiobook. And also Anne Hathaway does the audiobooks, at least the one I was reading. Isn't that so cool? And so I actually enjoyed listening to it. I probably will not continue the series, not unless I'm in like another slump and I need something easy to listen to. But it's written in like a diary format. So if you ever read like the Dork Diaries growing up, which is kind of like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I never read that one, but I read the Dork Diaries. It felt like that. It felt like what a middle-aged woman thinks a middle school girl would write in her diary if it was 2000. That's what these books are. And so it's just so dramatic and so childish. And I'm 25 years old. That is not for me. It is not for me at all. It's hard for me to enjoy. I don't think it's bad. It's just not for me. So it was like something cute to listen to, and that's about it. That's the only thought I have. So yeah, I was just really feeling slumped out in the past week because I'm pretty sure it took me, okay, well this past week was a short week because Memorial Day. I only worked Tuesday through Friday at my day job. And I think it took me the whole week to listen to the 5-hour audiobook. Granted, I do listen to podcasts too at work, but still, I used to read like 2 audiobooks a week, like 10-hour audiobooks. I'd listen to 2 of them a week. And now I'm listening to 3 audiobooks a month. So I don't know what happened, but that is what's going on. And I feel like I've talked a lot, so I'm sorry, but I don't know. I think it's because I've been awake for, what time is it? It is 1 p.m. and I've been awake since 7 a.m. with no one to talk to because my boyfriend just got up like as I was finishing up cleaning to come film this. So I've been awake by myself for 6 hours? I've got to get the talking. I'm someone who talks a lot. My poor boyfriend. I talk a lot and I've been alone for 6 hours. So you're getting all of it because I'm just like, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking. I'm gonna end this video. Those are all the books I read this month. It was all right. It was all right. I mean, these were all 4 stars, so that's cool. But the rest of the books I read were... So, that's that. This is the end of the video. Maybe I'll watch some more of mine. I don't know. I kind of just talk a lot all the time. But yeah, okay. Bye.